Raise your hand if you don't have it now. Maybe I'll get it. Text it. Okay. Linda, y'all got?
You got an extra one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we made it to James. We finally got through 1, and now we're on James 2. I'm going to get rid of this chewing gum. Respecter of persons. James is talking to the Christian Jews at that time, and at that time there was actually, if we go back and look at Deuteronomy 1:17, Moses wrote, "Ye shall not respect persons in judgment. Ye shall hear the small and great alike. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for judgment is God's." And even to that back point in the Mosaic Law, this was a problem. And now under the new law, it still was a problem with some of the Jews. They were still having problems with that. So James was trying to correct that as well as other things. In verse 1, "My brethren, do not hold the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with partiality." So Jesus, he didn't hold partiality, still doesn't, to anyone. But there was a problem with, like I say, with some of the Jews at that time, and they wasn't following the practice of Jesus. So James was trying to get that across to them. In 2 and 3, partial toward the rich and prejudiced toward the poor. "For if there should come into your assembly a man with gold rings and in fine apparel, and there should also come in a poor man in filthy clothes, and you pay attention to the one wearing the fine clothes, and say to him, You sit here in a good place, and say to the poor man, You stand there, or sit here at my footstool." So they were showing still partiality at that time. And verse 4, "Have you not shown partiality among yourselves and became judges with evil thoughts?" So, I mean, in reality, if you think about it, they were doing it then, but we may not do it if a rich person come in with gold rings on his fingers like he's talking about, because back in that day, if you wanted to appear to be the elite rich, that's what they went on. They put gold rings on, fine clothing, bright colored, and they was something important. They fancied around, and when they come in, they figured, they showed their stuff off. The poor man, of course, he was dirt poor, and what really gets to me is those Jews that he's talking to, that James is talking to, are the poor. Why in the world would they show partiality to the rich, if you think about it? So you get this guy that has treated them awful because the rich really was mean to them, but yet the poor guy was, showing partiality. "Oh, come here, sit here." Do you think they was wanting to get on their side or something of that nature? I did not understand why they would even feel that way, but they did. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, I think that's the example we're talking about that mentioned before, but also, to me, the respected person is whether, some movie star gets, you're going to treat him specially versus
That's exactly right, Mark. It is wrong, and we do, and society does. This world does. If you think about it, look at the commercials. I mean, I see these guys, if they're selling a protein drink or something, and it's supposed to make you healthy, you don't see somebody that looks like me. But you do see that guy's all muscled up, oiled down, and got a six-pack. He might not know it, but I got a 12 or 13 pack under my shirt. Got a lot of wrinkles.
A lot of times, those people expect you to treat them differently, and people find themselves going along with their expectations.
They do. I agree.
I think the primary thing is racial divisions.
Yeah.
Treating white people better than other non-white people, or vice versa. Treat black people better than non-black people. And any kind of stuff is to respect the person, and respect one, and disrespect another.
That's exactly right. It can be exactly right because of their color, because of anything. And, yes, sir, Eric.
Well, just along with all that, but I see something today, not having to do with race or poor clothes or any of that. I call them celebrity prayers. Especially if you look up and you haven't expected someone to be here, but he's a well-known preacher and happy to have our visitors, and look out in the audience and I see Brother So-and-so's here. Like to ask him if he would lead our opening prayer this morning. Well, he may not know anything that's going on in the congregation.
Right.
But it's a celebrity prayer.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're showing partiality to that person. And that's absolutely something we can't do. And our whole world is built around that.
On the note of like social standards and social acceptance, and what you mentioned about commercials, if you look compared to 5 years ago, in every single commercial, you will see some allusion to homosexuality. There's always, if it's a commercial about a cell phone, there's always a gay couple, and it's because they're trying to infiltrate and make
Sheila
it
Buck made
acceptable.
that same emphasis at the BTV. It's now in every commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're trying to make it normal for children to grow up seeing such.
They're desensitizing.
Yeah.
They're
I have to
desensitizing,
censor Disney now.
and they are legitimizing.
I mean, I never thought I'd have to censor.
But speaking of celebrities, not gonna, but Sheila was a state representative in Tennessee,
Right.
so she's kind of a step down now. She's a county mayor.
Really?
She really makes her beliefs in the Bible known where she can.
That's great.
She says it's just recently gotten where it says every commercial.
Yeah. It's yeah.
And they even have shows, like that show Modern Family. I mean, it's a divorced family, and one of the kids is gay and married, per se, and have a child, and then another one is like has a mail order bride, and they're all one big blended family. And I mean, people watch that show, and then with it being in the home, kids see it too. It's just it's a social problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wide. It's
Well, if we didn't show respect to persons to begin with, I think a lot of people who turn to that as, well, that's accepted, so I'll be that.
yeah.
If we don't show respect to persons to begin with, that person should feel comfortable in their own skin, rather than trying to find the niche that they're gonna fit in.
Yeah. But so many people do that. They feel they'll be accepted more or whatever, and that's what they try to do. If we look at C, riches of poverty and poverty of riches in 5 through 7. Listen, my beloved brother, has God not chosen the poor of this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which he promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Do not the rich oppress you and drag you into the courts? Do they not blaspheme that noble name by which you are called? So I think in 5, James sums up 3 reasons that we need to accept the poor man. The one that comes in that isn't something spectacular, isn't a movie star or whatever, just a plain old person. In 5, the three things is they are chosen of God, they're rich in faith, and they're heirs of the kingdom. So James made that clear to those Jews that he was writing to try to correct their behavior on placing partiality for the rich. The royal law, that's in 8 through 11. What is the royal law? Does anyone know that? That's exactly right. Love your neighbor as yourself is the royal law. If we can do that, we'll be one step ahead. That's for sure. Right.
I mean, whenever you look at what Jesus did, he tried to get across to us to be humble to anybody, not just the rich, famous, but I mean, the man that really people who make this world turn, your regular workers out here to build
Right.
and keep things together. So if we just keep that in mind, that's what Jesus did.
That's right. He was a humble person. Well, and I'll tell you something that years ago, and it's not, I don't guess it's not rich or poor, but I had the opportunity, I worked on the same job for a little while with this electrician. And the first day I seen him, he had no bottom lip. And it was just raggedy down below his chin and covered back to his back teeth up here near his ear and come back. And you could see he had some reconstructive surgery here. So, and I noticed that he'd have to go change his shirts 3-4 times a day because slobber would continually draining down on his shirt and he had wet it. And like every time he come by, I couldn't help but look at him. It's human nature. I felt sad, but I had to get past that point. So I do practice this today. By the second or third day, I finally stopped him. I said, well, in order for me to get any work done, I need to talk to you where we can put this behind us. I said, you're missing your bottom lip. Do you have an accident? And me and that guy spent an hour talking. I mean, he just told me all about it. And he was actually Vietnam, there's an explosion somehow, and he lost the bottom part of it. So he'd had a lot of reconstructive surgery. But, I became friends with the guy, and once we put that behind us, I was okay. And ever since then, I've always thought if there's something about somebody that had me concerned or unusual, I go talk to him, and I try to get that out of the way. And once it's out of the way, I'm fine. So I think that's something that worked for me, is to if you see someone that you're concerned with or wonder about, just talk to them. They're human. Faith and works, profession and practice. What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say to them, depart in peace, be warmed and filled, but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. So we talked about that a little bit in earlier scriptures and come up with actually some good suggestions last week. And I do want, for the first time, we've got suggestions in a suggestion box, and that's great. So if y'all keep putting them suggestions in there. I know Robbie's asked me several times that he would love to see things in their topics or questions. If someone's got a question about a certain topic, asked. I talked to him about teachers right before we started class, because when we go to James 3 verse 1, well, that's a big question right there. Better think before you accept the role of a teacher, because teachers are going to be judged more stricter. So I talked to him about that. I said, I'm not sure if I want to be a teacher anymore after I studied that a little bit.
Well, Jerry, we're all accountable for the things we hear and whether we do them or not, but as teachers, we're accountable for the things we teach
Yeah.
others as well, so just that's another accountability on.
That's added to it. And kind of like Robbie was saying, I told him, I said, I really want to, I struggle to make sure that I don't say the wrong things, because I don't want to be judged at that higher degree. And
So we are gonna be more accountable, but yet we're also each one taught to teach.
yeah,
Whether we teach one-on-one or in a classroom or whatever is to be determined, but we all have to teach, so.
and we're pretty much teaching when we go door to door, right?
You know, there's a lot of speakers that cross in the pulpit. The ones that I appreciate the most will be dealing with some of these tough questions. And they would very humbly say, everything I've studied, the Bible does not give us a black and white answer on this.
Right.
But people have asked me about it, and he'll read what he studied. And again, we're not told exactly about it. And he said, then they'll say, but my opinion is, from what I see here, and I think that humility really helps,
Yeah,
as far as not saying, this is it, mark this down.
I know. Well, even back in the beginning when we started out with James, and I was doing some of the history, and in my mind, it's like, okay, Murray knew that James and that Jesus was their half brother. All the other kids, and he is the Messiah. And I told Robbie, I said, she knew that, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, Dad knew it. Yeah. I said, I can't figure out why. I said, I can't find any place that tells me why that the other kids, they didn't tell the other kids. You would have thought that they would have told them, and then they really wouldn't have had that feeling toward Jesus of he's crazy, or you know what I'm saying? But Robbie told me, he said some things which, we just don't know. It don't tell us.
That's what's good about teachers. He says, we're not told what was said to the half brothers. We're not told that.
That's right.
There's a nature of speculation, you can't do that.
Right.
Like you said, to study, you have to be like the Bereans, study the scriptures, to know that was so. And that's what should be taught, nothing beyond the scriptures.
Right.
It is our source of the word.
Yeah, that's the only information we have.
It's got to be taken with a few grains of salt, and might, help you locate different parts of scripture and think about it differently, but you got to be really careful about that.
All right. Yeah, we can't add to or place or, say it's gospel when it's just our opinion. Wait.
The way I see this,
Yep.
if you're a Christian, we're all teachers. We should be out here teaching every day. If you're gonna wear the Christian name,
Right.
everybody should be considered a teacher.
Yeah. I think so too. And
We sometimes convince ourselves that we don't know everything, so we can't teach, but we can teach what we know.
right.
And if we're a Christian, we know at least we know that. We know what it takes to become a Christian, and we should be willing to share that with others. And then, like Wade said, we should teach what we know.
Right.
And everyone who's ever taught knows who gets the most out of the class.
Oh yeah.
And that's the teacher.
That's right.
So even
That's
if
true.
we don't know,
Is we don't teach what we don't know.
if we don't know everything, that's even to me another reason to teach. Well, let's study this and look at it. And And
Right.
I'll learn from it, and hopefully the class will too. But sometimes we convince ourselves we have to know everything. We're never gonna know everything.
No, no.
Never. But we can teach what we know, and we can study on some of the others together. But it's one of those defense mechanisms we use when we don't wanna do something.
Right,
I don't know enough, I can't.
right.
Well, yeah, we can.
Well, the good thing about this class is you got input from everybody. So if there are something, usually someone else can pick it right up and, keep going with it. So yeah, you're right. The teacher, I don't know anybody that knows everything, but all we got to do is start talking about it and everybody give input and we'll get there.
Before we
Yes, sir.
chapter 2, I want to make sure we touch on verse 10.
Verse 10.
It's very important. Have an understanding as a Christian.
For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. Yeah, how did I miss that? I jumped right over it somewhere. Oh, I didn't read the law. I didn't do D and E. Well, let's go ahead and do that. We know the royal law is love your neighbor as yourself. The law of liberty and mercy. I'll start with 10, though. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For he has said, do not commit adultery. Also said, do not murder. Now, if you do not commit adultery, but you do murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. To speak and so do so as those who will be judged by the law of liberty. The judgment is without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. So, mercy is a good thing. I mean, I like that. I like that verse that is said in there. Because if we have mercy on others, then in judgment, we'll be shown mercy. But if we don't have any mercy on other people, then it's going to be displayed on us in judgment. So that is thank you, Mark, for bringing that.
Scripture says elsewhere, God hates sin.
Right?
If we commit sin, it has to be forgiven. Or we're not going to see heaven. It's the bottom line.
Simple as
You
that.
have one sin, you must get it forgiven.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to get there.
Yeah.
You can't be double-minded.
But Rich on Ruler only lacked one thing. He said, what do I lack? It's just one thing. He don't want to give up his stuff.
He wanted to keep it all, didn't he? And that's all that would keep him out of heaven. And you're right, Mark. I mean, we have to obey the whole law. If we step out of line in one thing, if we sin in one thing, we do have to repent and ask forgiveness for that sin, or we'll never have the opportunity to go to heaven.
Bill Thomas had a sermon on it, and he referred to it as just falling short. Just a little short, but you're still falling short.
Still short.
Coming short.
That's
You're
right.
gonna fall short. So you have to strive to fall.
Yeah. Make sure everything in our life is correct. That's exactly right. 18 and 19. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that there is one God, you do well, because even the demons believe and tremble. So we can't have, it don't matter, we can't have faith without works, and we're not going to have works without faith.
Verse 19, is James using a little bit of sarcasm?
I believe so. That's what I thought. Yeah,
But how many
that's
people
right.
say they believe in God and they think that just because the verse says if you believe, you'll be saved and you're good?
Many believe that.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
No, you got to believe and obey.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of people do. They do believe that. They believe all you got to have is faith, and
But that
you're
verse
good.
right there, it's, also believe.
Yes,
They tremble because they know they are not saved.
that's right.
Well, I think believing the entirety of it also adds, well, but my parents believe this, so does that mean this? It's so much bigger, I think, for a lot of people, and I think
Yeah.
that's where we also have to have mercy and be patient with people, because that is a hard concept, if that's how you, I mean, I can only imagine. I wasn't raised a different religion, but I can only imagine if I were, that would be hard.
It would be hard.
So we need to be patient with people and give them time to process that.
Yep.
And not just count them out because they didn't get it the first time.
And do you think, yeah, I agree with you, Molly, and do you think it is like if your parents was one religion, you was raised in that religion, your parents, your grandparents, and they're passed. And then you're here and all of a sudden you're being taught, that was not true. This is the truth. This is how it has to be. For the person to, in being able to accept Christ, they've got to, in the back of their mind, feel, is my parents lost? Is my grandparents lost? And I think it's a struggle, and it would be. It would be for me too.
But
My
don't
mom was
let
raised
yourself
Baptist,
become
and
lost
she
because
struggled
they
with
are.
that.
Did she?
My parents and my dad's parents were patient with her, and she wanted truth, and she was converted before they were married. But I mean, she was very patient with people in that sense that I got to see growing up because she knew that struggle.
Right.
Because my great grandmother, her grandmother, was one of the kindest women you would ever have met in your life. I mean, just sweet as can be. But I mean, she would not obey the gospel. She was Baptist, and she stayed Baptist, and that was hard. But like my mom said, do I want me and my children to be lost because of how I was raised? I mean,
Yeah.
so, but it's just hard, and I think sometimes we are too. I don't know what the word is, but we may not think about that enough sometimes, and we're like, why won't they just believe it? They may, but it might just be hard for them to accept.
Oh, I know. I felt that way too. It's like, okay, you've heard the truth. What is the problem?
But like Lazarus and the rich man, he said, go tell my brothers, he did not want them to be lost, even though he was.
Right.
And these people that are lost, they don't want us to be lost because they were. They know better now.
Yeah. Exactly. There's nothing.
Love, I think that's why we're commanded to do it that way.
I do too. Love and with patience. I sure do.
Verse number 12 says, so speak and so act as those who are to be judged by the law of liberty. For judgment will be without mercy to anyone who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment.
That's a good.
We had a friend whose, the father refused to go to church, and Polly took her two sons to church every time the doors were open. And it wasn't until Gus was how old? 75. I think he'd had a heart attack, and he decided he needed to follow what Polly had been teaching him by her actions all those years, and he became a Christian. He lived to be 93.
Oh, wow.
And he discussed with Eric many times about how could he be saved when he had done it so late in his life.
Kept using the parable about the ones hired early in the morning.
Yeah.
And the ones at the last hour of the day got the same reward.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's from Jesus' mouth. I think it's the last thing I said to him on his deathbed.
Right.
I said, we'll talk about this later,
Well, good for you. Good for you. That's exactly right.
because I'm gonna try my best to be there with you.
And a lot of people is concerned with that they obey the gospel late in life. But that parable from Jesus made it clear. Those.
And it's so powerful when, and it's human nature to say, wait a second, it's been hot all day, I've been working out here in the hot sun all day. And he says, friend, I did you no wrong. I paid you what I said I'd pay you.
Right.
That's powerful.
That sure is.
And debating the gospel is not something we do one time. It's something we have to continually do.
Right.
First debate the gospel long ago or recently, you get the same reward as long as you continue to obey. But if you don't disobey, there's no reward.
Yeah. And I think in that parable, like Eric was saying there, even the prodigal son, Jesus shows us that, You know, the one threw away all of his money, partied, lived it up. But when he come back, what happened? He got the fatted calf. He got, you know,
Gold ring on his finger.
that gold ring on his finger. That's exactly.
You never gave me a ring
All
for my
beyond
finger.
his expectations,
That's right.
way beyond his expectations.
Yep.
He just wanted to get fed.
Even the Apostle Paul held it against himself because he was such a late arrival in the church.
I forgot that. That's true.
Good example.
Yeah, real good example. Yeah, he did. He felt like because he done all this. Actually, you know, kind of it was wicked. So he done all this bad stuff to Christians, and then late in his life, like Ed was saying, he obeyed the gospel. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's good that you talked to that gentleman, because it.
So we'll talk about it again.
That's right, and you probably will someday.
I'm gonna say, see,
Told you so. Well, I think that who was that guy that killed people and Dahmer. Okay, so he was, oh mercy, extremely wicked, but baptized in his last day. What do you think he?
He was beat to death not too long after he obeyed the gospel. And there no doubt will be people who will, just not be able to handle that he very well will be in heaven.
Right.
But if he obeyed the gospel truthfully and he died faithful, he will be forgiven and he will be.
everything I've seen is like that. There was some, I think it was an elderly woman started sending him the correspondence courses.
Yeah.
And then, since he responded to those, a preacher went and studied with him in the prison.
But there would be those similar to, you obeyed late in life, you don't deserve this. Oh, you don't deserve this. Look what you did.
But what was the name of the guy that was sent to Paul? To tell-
Ananias.
Ananias.
He didn't want anything to do
He
with it.
was
Oh, Ananias
afraid
didn't
to go to
Can
Paul.
you imagine, it's wonderful that the preacher that went and taught Jeffrey Dahmer just went and taught him. He didn't say,
What?
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. He
Well,
might
you know,
even-
he serves as an example to us still today. It's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the doctrine that there is for forgiveness.
Ananias had to have his arm twisted a bit, but he went. He did it, and Saul was converted.
And there's no, well, I've been faithful for all this time, and if I'm gonna decide to fall away, I should still get in either. So it goes the other direction too.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
We don't earn our salvation. We're always unprofitable
It's about
servants
today
of the
and
Lord.
tomorrow.
Well,
It's only
there's
through
also,
His grace
there's
that
also
we
that
get
my sin's not as bad as your sin.
That's true.
So,
I've heard.
Yeah, what if the preacher said that to Dahmer? Said, "Hey, look, I've exceeded
Yeah.
esteem a little bit, but I didn't eat people."
sin is still sin.
Yeah.
Then I think about, not that we shouldn't forgive him, but I think about, where does insanity lie in this realm? Okay,
Right.
So when you're dealing with somebody that, we always think we're dealing with somebody that's rational-minded. The normal person is rational-minded. But if they're insane, where does that lie in the realm of God?
I'm glad that God is the judge and not
Yes,
me.
yes,
Me
yes.
too.
We got a little bit of an answer with the guy that was chained to the tombs. He was just a madman.
Right.
And when Jesus cast those many legion of demons out of him, they went to the swine and they drowned themselves.
Right.
I think that guy hung around at Jesus' feet after that. He was tamed and he hung around at Jesus' feet. I think there's an example.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear you hear people talk about different degrees of punishment, and the same way, like, I've come to church for 40 years. I ought to have my own key,
There are different degrees of punishment.
Yeah,
2 Peter 2:20 says it'd be worse for them that never have known the gospel than to turn away from it after having known it. And worse for them. So you can't, there's different degree of rewards too. We've done a lot of study on this in the previous congregation.
mhm.
I can share some more materials with you, but that's true. You get a great reward for
greatest is gonna be the least in the kingdom of heaven. It's the same concept.
Well, didn't he mention John the Baptist is least of those in heaven? Am I right or wrong?
Well, not in heaven, but just John himself said that Jesus was so high that he wasn't worthy to unfasten his sandal.
Right.
Jesus said, and yet, because John was before the church,
Mm-hmm.
and yet the least in the church is greater than John the Baptist. Maybe that's what you're
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
least in the church, because you came into the kingdom of God, and in the church, the least in the church is greater than John the Baptist.
Yeah, that worries me right there. If he's the least, I'm in trouble.
We're gonna see John the Baptist.
Yeah, if he's the least, I might as well go to the house. Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.